welcome to All Things Sewing and Craft. Today we will be doing a zipper pouch, and this is our template, and we have made this 22 centimeters wide and 14 centimeters long with a seam allowance of 1 centimeter. So that's our template, and here's one we've prepared earlier. This will be our outer layer fabric, and this will be our lining. So I've used a cotton and a cotton blend. It's really lovely fabric to use when you're making a zipper pouch bag or makeup bag. And with our zip, I've used a 20 centimeter zip, and it's just a synthetic zip. And we have our scissors and an unpicker in case you need it, some snips, some red thread for our project, our straight stitch foot, our zipper foot, which I've already attached to my machine, and over to our machine, we're using a Janome DC2150, and it is computerized, and it has 50 stitches which are displayed on the outer case of the machine, which is really handy. And you've got your up and down and back and forth arrow buttons. You've got your slider control for the speed. You've got your needle up and down button. You've got your finish button. You've got your reverse stitch, your stop start button. And as you can notice, we don't have our pedal plugged in. We're just going to use that. And this here is your tension, and also at the back here we've got our spool of thread, bobbin winder, an extra notch here for another spool pin, and here you've got your top loading bobbin, and at the back here we have this slider here, which I'm not going to engage for this tutorial, but this is to drop your feed dogs down if you're doing any darning or quilting type work. So that's quite handy with that. And over here you've got your turn wheel, your power button, your cord, and here, this is where you'll get all your accessories popped into there. It's a little handy thing that just slides through. And that's pretty much it for this machine. It's really, really handy because you've got your decorative stitches, and you've got some of these utility stitches, and here you've got your straight stitch, which is at 00, and on your screen here it's actually set to 00, and by moving your arrows back and forth it will engage whatever function that is. So in this case we've set that to 00 for straight stitch, and for my needle position I've got it set at 2.5. I'm actually not going to change that because I've got it already set up so it does not hit this foot, as in the needle. Next we have our stitch length. I've got it set at 3.5. For this project I think 3.5 is a good stitch length, and I think we're ready to go. So With our fabric, I like to pop my outer fabric facing up, and then my zip, I'm going to face that down. And before I pop anything else over the top of it, I'm going to move my slider halfway. And the reason why I do this is because when you start stitching, you don't want that bulkiness near your needle or near your foot. It will just get in the way, and you could possibly have some wonky stitches. Then with our lining fabric, I have that face, right side facing down on top of the zip and on top of the outer fabric. I like to use pins, so I'm going to pin this. Pin all 3 layers together. Alternatively, you might like to use Wonder Clips. I've got the large size as well as the smaller size. They're very handy, but I'm old school, so I'm using pins. And then you just continue along, making sure everything is aligned to the edge of the fabric. For this particular size project, I think 3 pins is sufficient. However, you can use how many clips or pins that you like. And just make sure everything's nice and straight and aligned. And there we have it. Our lining fabric, our zip, our outer fabric. So heading back down to our machine, I've used this zipper foot, which is a clip-on on this particular machine. And you've got your left and right notches here, depending on what side of the zip you're doing. And then you've got, if you can see where my finger is, this is where the needle will go down into. And this is why I've used this crank wheel to adjust it, just to make sure that I didn't actually hit the foot. You don't want that. Your needle will break and you can damage your machine. And then I just align that metal rod with the shaft there, and I just pop my lever down and it just clips on. So I'm just going to align the zip teeth with this edge. It should actually be placed sort of on top of the ridge there where the zip teeth are. And then I just pop my foot down and I'm just double checking. Okay, yeah, that's fine. And I'm going to needle down button, remove my pin, and I'm just going to put that on slow to begin with and start stitching. And I'm going to go a little bit faster and stop. We're getting up to the zip puller there, so I'm going to, with my needle down, I'm going to put my lever up and zip that back up to the start there, and then just adjust everything, make sure that your zip and everything is lined up, and then pop the lever down and we can continue on. I'm just getting up to my last pin, just make sure that everything's aligned. And then I'm just going to reverse stitch. Pop my needle back up. With this needle up and down button, it actually remembers what you did last. So if you've popped it down, it will stop when you stop sewing down, and vice versa if you've left it up. Trim all our cottons off. And then so you can see here we have the outer layer fabric, and that's nicely stitched to the zip, and you have your lining underneath. Now you might like to press this down, but I will not do that at this point because we are doing a tutorial, and I can just finger press that and it'll be fine. Now I'm getting my other side of fabric, and that is going face up again, the same way we did it before. And this time you're going to flip this. So flip that like that, and your zipper pull will be the opposite side of what you originally have sewn. And just adjust everything. Put your lining right side facing down on top here, and pin again as you did earlier. And this time your zip pull will be the opposite side, so you won't need to adjust that at this point in time. We will do that right at the end. Once you're happy everything's aligned properly, head down to your machine. And pop your needle down. I'm going to slow that speed down again because I don't want to hit that needle or the pin. Remove my needle as I go, and now I'm going to speed up a little bit. And you don't have to force this, you can just guide it. Remove my second pin. And we're getting up to this zip pull, so I'll just keep going until I get there. And stop, remove my pin, needles down. I'm going to lift my lever again and just pull this zip back towards the back. Align everything back up. Pop my lever down, my needle's already down, and then just continue on to the end. And I'm going to backstitch. And then remove your project from the machine, cut your cottons, and now you have your two lining fabrics, your two outer fabrics. You can now just zip this up to see how it looks. Oh, that's not right. And again, if you would like to go down to your iron and just iron this all open, so you have two fabrics there, the zip there. We are going to top stitch now, just to give that nice finish. Just at the top, I'll just remove my zipper foot. You don't need it for this exercise. I'll just clip on my straight stitch foot or standard foot that came with my machine. And then can just align your foot with the teeth there, and then with your knee. Yeah, okay. And we're just sewing the outer layer. Lift up your lever. And we're going to close this off. So what I'm doing now is I unfortunately closed off the lining piece when I shouldn't have. So I'm just going to back stitch and stop. Lift that up. Just closing off that edge so it doesn't come undone when we flip it inside out. And then I'm going to do the same for this. So this is what not to do. So I've just closed off those edges. Just trim off my cotton. The other thing that I didn't consider is I didn't align my zip centered, and that's why we've got sort of straggly ends of fabric. So this is another thing not to do. You must center your zip, the actual zip part, with the fabric. Don't worry about these ends. They don't have to align with the edges because you can snip them off. So now that we've done that, what I like to do is snip these corners like so. You do that on all the corners. This will just give you a nicer corner when you flip it inside out by doing this. This one can go a little bit more. So I've just snipped those corners. And what you could do to secure it further is do a zigzag stitch around it. But I'm not going to do that for this tutorial. It's just to make it a lot more sturdier and finish your edges. So now that we've trimmed all the cottons and trimmed the corners there, this is the part where you flip it inside out. So that opening that we made or left, you just pull that through. You can use a pencil or anything that can sort of pull the corners in. I'm just going to do it with my fingers. And then you just pull everything through like so. Just getting those corners nice and crisp as best you can. Okay, so pull this out. Turn all this inside out again. Pop that through. And so you have your outer fabric, your lining, and of course this opening that we left. And it'll naturally want to fold in where you've last stitched it. So you just align that. and just pin it. And then we go back to the machine and we close off this opening. And I'm just going to adjust this. I can remove this pin now. And then just I reverse stitch to close off that. And just close off that. Cut off our cottons. So now that's closed off. Just trim that. And now we pop this lining inside the bag like so, and just adjust all the corners so they fit into the outer layer. Pop out the zip bits so it's nice and flush. And there you have All Things Sewing and Craft makeup bag, or zipper pouch, or pencil case. And so you've got this beautiful zip with the nice top stitching, and then you've got your lining, and we're done. Thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully